Hello, I'm Jen. Welcome back to my channel, Literary Love 123, where I combine my master's in English with my passion for the horror genre to talk about the books that I read. Today's video is a holiday book and bookish accessories haul. So after this quick intro, I'll be right back to share all the good stuff. For this haul, I'm going to start with the books first, and then I will move on to the bookish accessories. Some of these are gifts I received from others, and some of these are gifts I bought for myself. So let's go ahead and just get started. The first book I want to talk about is a poetry collection, Devotions from Mary Oliver. I have read poetry from Mary Oliver before, and I love her work. And then I was watching Isabel Reed's recent video, and she was talking about how this particular book brought her comfort in a time of grief. And I am currently experiencing a time of grief. If you've watched my channel, you know that my mom was diagnosed with Parkinson's a few years ago. She's in a long-term care facility now, and her disease continues to regress. I guess it progresses. She regresses. And this book, I feel like is going to bring a lot of comfort to me. I also gave a copy to my sister and to my dad. The next book I want to talk about is Gothic Blue Book 4, Folklore Edition. I have read and absolutely loved Gothic Blue Book 6, A Krampus Carol. I should have brought it to show you, but it is an anthology in which I actually love every single story. And that hardly ever happens, especially when you're talking about works by different authors. So I have a lot of confidence going into Gothic Blue Book 4, Folklore Edition. And I feel like this will be an excellent read for me in the month of February when Kat from Kat's Novel Adventures does her annual Folklore February. The next book I want to talk about, I found out about it from Marissa at La Salon Reads on Instagram. If you're not following her, you need to do so. This one is American Scary, A History of Horror from Salem to Stephen King and Beyond. So let me tell you a little bit about this one. Americans are held captive by horror stories. They flicker on the screen of a darkened movie theater and are shared around the campfire. They blare out in tabloid true crime headlines and in the worried voices of local news anchors. They are consumed virally on the phones in our pockets. Like the victims in any slasher movie worth its salt, we can't escape the thrall of scary stories. In American Scary, noted cultural historian Jeremy Dauber pulls from his hugely popular Columbia University class on the history of horror to take the reader to the startling origins of American fear. Dauber draws a captivating through line that ties historical influences ranging from the Salem witch trials and enslaved person narratives directly to the body of work we more closely associate with horror today. The weird tales of H.P. Lovecraft, the lingering fiction of Shirley Jackson, the disquieting films of Alfred Hitchcock, the up all night stories of Stephen King, and the gripping critiques of Jordan Peele. From The Telltale Heart to Megan, we begin to see why the horror genre is the perfect prism through which to view America's past and present. With a dexterous weave of insight and style that have made him one of America's leading chroniclers of popular culture, Dauber makes the haunting case that horror reveals the true depths of the American mind. I will actually be starting this later on today. The next book I want to talk about is The Place Where They Buried Your Heart by Christina Henry. This is the book club selection for Isabel at Isabel Reed's very first book club. And I am so excited to be Isabel's co host for this particular book. Isabel was my co host on my first Literary Love Book Club show, which was about Picnic at Hanging Rock by Joan Lindsay. It took me a minute to go all the way back there. So if you're not following Isabel, that I forgot her name. I'm not even editing this out. This is my brain right now. You need to follow Isabel. So let's talk about The Place Where They Buried Your Heart by Christina Henry. It was only a dare. On an otherwise ordinary street in Chicago, there is a house, an abandoned house where once upon a time terrible things happened. The children who live on this block are told by their parents to stay away from that house. But of course, children don't listen. Children think it's fun to be scared, to dare each other to go inside. Jessie Campanelli did what many older sisters do and dared her little brother Paul. But unlike all the other kids who weren't inside that abandoned who went, excuse me, all the other kids who went inside that abandoned house, Paul didn't return. His two friends, Jake and Richie, said that the house ate Paul. Of course, adults didn't believe that. Adults never believe what kids say. They thought someone kidnapped Paul or hurt him. They thought Paul had vanished in a way that was ordinary, explainable. The disappearance of her little brother broke Jessie's family apart in ways that would never be repaired. Jessie grew up, had a child of her own, and kept living on the same street where the house that ate her brother sat, crouched and waiting. And darkness seemed to spread out from that house, a darkness that was alive and hungry. So it's reminding me in a lot of ways of Stephen King's It, which is my favorite Stephen King novel and one of my favorite books of all time. You've got a childhood disappearance, a sibling trying to cope with that throughout all of life. You've got the adult version trying to go back and see if she can solve what happened to her brother. Also, the idea of a house being hungry and alive gives me some feelings close to The Haunting of Hill House also. So it seems definitely like a very good gothic selection. The next book I want to talk about is Dark Sisters by Christy DeMeester. This is a book club pick for the Bookworm Book Club that is run by Kat, who I mentioned previously, Kat from Kat's Novel Adventures, and Alex from Frank Fiction. This is their February book club pick, and I had already pre-ordered this. I loved Christy DeMeester's Such a Pretty Smile. I also enjoyed her book Beneath, and I've enjoyed some of her short stories and collections and anthologies. So let's talk about Dark Sisters by Christy DeMeester. In this fiercely captivating novel, horror meets historical fiction when a curse bridges generations, binding the fates of three women. Anne Bolton, a healer facing persecution for witchcraft, bargains with a dark entity for protection, but the fire she unleashes will reverberate for centuries. Mary Shepherd, a picture-perfect wife in a suffocating community, falls for Sharon and begins a forbidden affair that could destroy them both. And Camilla Burson, the rebellious daughter of a preacher, defies conformist expectations to uncover an ancient power as her father's flock spirals into crisis. Three women, 3 centuries, one legacy of fury, love, and a power that refuses to die. I'm so excited. I love this idea of 3 generations of women going up against the patriarchy, not conforming to what society expects of them, and unleashing fury. I cannot wait to read that one. Then I want to show the October Film Haunt by Michael Wehunt. This is one of my favorite books of 2025. I loved it so much listening to it on audio that I had to get a physical copy. let me tell you about it just by reading the synopsis, because I want to talk more about my response to it in my top books of 2025 video, which will be coming out at a later time. 10 years ago, Jory Stroud, yes, it's what you think. Jory Stroud was the rising star of the October film Haunt, a trio of horror enthusiasts who camped out at the filming locations of their favorite scary movies, sharing their love of horror through their popular blog. But after a night in the graveyard from Proof of Demons, perhaps the most chilling cult film ever made, directed by the enigmatic Helene Enriquez, everything unraveled. Now, Jory has built an isolated life with her young son in Vermont. In the devastating wake of her viral, truth stretching Proof of Demons blog entry, hysteria, internet backlash, and the death of a young woman, Jory has put it all, along with her intense love for the horror genre, behind her until a videotape arrives in the mail. Jory fears someone might be filming her, and the Rickies, Enrique's obsessives who would do anything for the reclusive director, begin to cross lines in disturbing ways. It seems Helene Enriquez is making a new kind of sequel, and Jory is her final girl. As the dangers grow even more unexpected, and strange, Jory must search for answers before the proof of the movie's title finds her and takes everything she loves. This book genuinely had scenes that actually creeped me out. It's meta, but it's done in an organic and very unique way. If you like Night Film by Marisha Pessel, The Blair Witch Project, The Ring, you like the idea of questioning whether or not something is real or imagined, the idea that watching a film can curse you, the idea that you could be the one in the film. So a little bit of Scream is kind of woven in there also. But this is just done in such an original way. I could not stop listening to it when I was listening to the audiobook. I kept thinking of other tours and other things I could do around the house to be able to keep listening to it. I just absolutely loved the October film Haunt. So definitely pick that one up if anything I said interests you, and be on the lookout for my top books of 2025 so you can hear more about it. And then finally, what is a book haul on my channel without another edition of Frankenstein by Mary Shelley? This is my favorite classic, and anytime I can't afford it, I like to get new editions of Frankenstein. So this one is another Penguin Classic edition, but this is the one that has in the front of it, you have a lot of details from the chronology of Mary Shelley's life. You also have the introduction, you have further reading, notes on the text. Then you have themes, sources, influences in Frankenstein. And I'm only on that page so far because a lot of this I may already know, but every time I get the chance to read it again, I still read it again. And continuing on with my love of Frankenstein, we are moving on to the accessories that I got. My daughter got me a Frankenstein Christmas ornament, and he's on both sides there with his little Santa hat. So even Frankenstein's creature is getting festive for the holiday. I also have a mug that I ordered from Netflix. This is from Guillermo del Toro's adaptation of Frankenstein, which I have thoughts about that I can link for you down in the description box below the video, where I talk about my response to Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. Speaking once again, continuing speaking of Frankenstein, I should have put these on for the video, but I will put them on now because why not? I got a pair of Frankenstein writing gloves. How beautiful are they? And I should have put this shirt on today, but I wore it yesterday, so I had to dig it up out of the laundry to show you. But I also got a Frankenstein shirt. And the quote on this shirt from the novel is, "It was the secret of heaven and earth that I desired to learn." Few more accessories that I want to show you. My other daughter got me a Pennywise nook to slide on my shelf, and that's going to be a really perfect addition to my Stephen King shelf. Then I also received some bookmarks from my son. I have one of them in my Frankenstein book. So this is a little Scream ghost face bookmark, and the other two are Billy from Saw and Jason, Friday the 13th. Of course, you probably knew that. Then I have another gift from my son. Now, this one might be from one of my daughters. This is a Dracula nutcracker. I collect nutcrackers, so each year I get new nutcrackers, but I did not have a Dracula nutcracker. So he'll be out all year because he's going on my Dracula shelf. Just like my Frankenstein ornament's going to be out all year because it's going on my Frankenstein shelf. I also have a huge love of the movie Nightmare Before Christmas. I was on a live show trivia on Elaine at Cobalt Dragons channel where I competed with others in a trivia contest for Nightmare Before Christmas. So I will link that video too. Hang on, let me get something that fell on the floor. Speaking of Nightmare Before Christmas, I got these cutouts, these little Klingons for Nightmare Before Christmas. So I'm excited to put those up. And then my son's girlfriend got me the most amazing nutcracker. I didn't even know this existed. Look at this. It is a Sally nutcracker. Is this not absolutely the cutest thing you've ever seen? Okay, so that is my book and book and bookish accessory holiday haul. I thank you for watching. I would love for you to hit like, subscribe so we can keep talking about books that we want, books that we get, books that we hope to get. And I would also appreciate it if you would leave a comment. Let me know what you got bookish wise for the holiday. If you watched and you don't know what you want to say, you can leave a little book emoji to say, I'm here, I watched, and I appreciate you. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye.